In this video, I'm going to talk about types of sentence structures. So you want your writing to be interesting. If all your sentences have the same structure and same length, your writing would get boring to the reader. Knowing the types of sentence structure you can use will allow you to make your writing more interesting. We talked about sentences in Chapter 2. In this chapter, we will look at sentences in a slightly different way. We will talk about sentence fragments and run-on sentences. Then you will learn about the different various sentence structures so that your writing will be interesting and contain a wide range of sentence types. Sentences are made up of combinations of clauses, see Chapter 4, both subordinate and independent. All you really need to have in a sentence is a subject or pronoun and a verb. So a sentence can have only 2 words and still be a perfectly complete sentence. This is a complete sentence. Jack runs. Obviously, you don't want to write in two-word sentences. However, this chapter will show you how something much longer than 2 words might look as if it is a sentence. Finally, this chapter will talk about how sentences are put together. You can actually have a sentence that contains only 1 word. Sit is a complete sentence. It is a verb. You might ask, where is the subject? In a command, there is often an implied subject, meaning it isn't actually in the sentence but understood. The subject of a command is always you, whether it is written there or not. One of the most important things to know when you are writing is the difference between a sentence fragment and a run-on. We will discuss fragments and run-ons in the following sections. Generally, you should write in complete sentences and avoid run-on sentences and fragments. Run-ons and fragments are grammatically incorrect. Are there exceptions? Of course. There are always exceptions. Many people use sentence fragments for effect. These are called minor sentences. So, fiction writers, in particular, use fragments. If you are writing a story or memoir, even a memo, you might want to use a sentence fragment. However, if you are writing a college essay or a cover letter, a letter asking your boss for a raise, or a book proposal, stick to complete sentences. As already mentioned, a sentence is a complete thought. It can be really long or really short, but all it needs is a subject and a verb. He ran. He ran and ran and ran. Because I have no money, I cannot go to the movies. Sentence fragment. A sentence fragment is not a sentence, but sometimes people think it is. A fragment is not a complete thought. Sometimes subordinate clauses are written as sentences, but they are not. Here are some examples of fragments or incomplete sentences. Do not use them in your writing. Because I have no money. This is not a complete thought. It cannot stand on its own. And I went with my friend. Many people say it is fine to begin a sentence with fanboys, but I wouldn't do it in formal writing. If I try really hard, this is another subordinate clause. The person whom I met and told me that she knew a woman who lived across the street from me. This may sound like a sentence, but it is not a complete thought. So what about the person? So this is still a fragment. So run-on sentences. A run-on sentence contains more than 1 complete sentence without proper punctuation. Here is an example of a run-on. I have a new job. It pays more than my old job. You cannot separate 2 complete thoughts with just a comma. If you do, you have a run-on sentence, often called a comma splice. 2 complete sentences must be separated in one of 3 ways. Put a period between them and start the second sentence with a capital letter. I have a new job, period. It pays more than my old job. Put a semicolon between them if the 2 sentences are closely related. Do not capitalize the beginning of the second sentence. I have a new job, semicolon. It pays more than my old job. Add fanboys conjunctions. For, and, or, nor, but, or, yet, so, after the comma. I have a new job, comma, and it pays more than my old job. If the 2 sentences are very short, you can omit the comma. I work and I sleep. Sometimes, but not too often, a colon is used between two sentences. I use the colon for, I recommend you avoid doing this to eliminate the chance of using a colon when it really isn't appropriate. The colon can separate two sentences when the second sentence is an explanation of the first. However, any one of the three solutions above will also work. She is looking for a job, colon, her last job did not work out. Types of sentence structures. All sentences are made up of one or more clauses. Remember that a clause is a group of words that has a subject and a verb. Some clauses are complete sentences and can stand on their own. Other clauses cannot stand on their own. They are not complete thoughts, and they must be added to an independent clause, which is a complete thought. By combining an independent and subordinate clauses, we are able to create the 4 sentence structures. Therefore, by being familiar with the different types of clauses, you can form more interesting and varying sentences. So, simple sentence. A simple sentence is made up of one independent clause. Jack and Jill went up the hill. This sentence is pretty simple. It contains a compound subject, Jack and Jill, a verb, went, and a prepositional phrase, up the hill. Picking blueberries. Jack and Jill decided to climb to the top and to pick some flowers, pink roses. This sentence may look complicated, but it is still a simple sentence containing only one clause. Here is what it contains. Picking blueberries, a participial phrase. Jack and Jill, compound subject. Decided, verb. To climb and to pick, infinitives. To the top, prepositional phrase. Pink roses, a positive. Second kind of sentence is a compound sentence. A compound sentence contains 2 or more independent clauses. In other words, sentences joined by fanboys, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so, or a semicolon. Here are some compound sentences. I ate dinner, comma, and I went to bed. Notice that there is an independent clause before the conjunction and another independent clause after and. Also notice that there's a comma before and. Of course, the independent clauses can be more complicated than these. And yes, there can be more than 2 clauses in a compound sentence. I ate dinner, I went to bed, and I forgot to set the alarm clock. Note that you need complete sentences for the sentence to be compound. The sentence below, very similar to the one above, is just a simple sentence with a compound verb. There is only one subject, I. I ate dinner and went to bed and forgot to set the alarm clock. So this is not a compound sentence. This is just a simple sentence with compound verbs. Complex sentence. A complex sentence contains an independent clause, complete sentence, and one or more subordinate adjective, adverb, noun clauses. So it is a combination of the types of clauses. Remember that you must have an independent clause in a sentence. You could string together 300 subordinate clauses and you still wouldn't have a complete sentence. Here are 2 complex sentences with adverb subordinate clauses. Because I missed the bus, so that's the subordinate clause. I had to walk 3 miles. That's the independent clause. So when you put a complete sentence and an independent clause together, you have a complex sentence. I walked 3 miles before I saw the bus. Here are 2 more complex sentences with adjective subordinate clauses. My mother, who was born in Ireland, lived in England and Scotland before she moved to the United States. This is the book that I read last week. And here are 2 more complex sentences. The book that I read last week is the one that I bought when we were at the airport. Since I bought a new sofa, I won't buy those red leather chairs, which I really don't need. The 4th kind of sentence in English, compound complex sentence. If you mix a compound sentence with a complex sentence, you get a compound complex sentence, which is a little bit of each. A compound complex sentence has more than one independent clause. like a compound sentence, and at least one subordinate clause, like a complex sentence. Here is an example of a compound complex sentence. I am learning about UFOs, which are very interesting, and I am doing a research paper about aliens. So the compound sentence is, I am learning about UFOs, and I am doing a research paper about aliens. So the subordinate clause is, which are very interesting. So when you combine the two together, you have a compound complex sentence. A variety of sentence patterns. So we've learned about different types of phrases and clauses so that we can use them in our writing. Simple sentences that always start with a subject and a verb can get very boring. Check out this paragraph. My friends and I went to the concert last night. We really enjoyed the music. We went out for dinner after the concert. I had the best pizza I have ever eaten. My friends shared a huge plate of appetizers. The waiter was very friendly. The service was great. I came home after midnight and was really tired when I had to get up for work this morning. This paragraph sounds a little choppy, doesn't it? All the sentences are simple sentences and begin with a subject and the verb. How about a rewrite? My friends and I went to the concert last night. To say we enjoyed the music is an understatement. After the concert, we went out for dinner. I had the best pizza I had ever eaten, and my friends shared a huge plate of appetizers. Because the waiter was so friendly and the service was so great, we left a big tip. However, coming home after midnight made it really difficult to get up for work this morning. Better? It is always better to use a variety of sentence types and structures. Besides starting a sentence with the subject, you can start a sentence with a phrase or a clause. Last night, my friends and I went to a movie. Prepositional phrase. Going to the movies is a favorite pastime for me. Gerundial phrase. Watching movies. I escape into another world. Participial phrase. To be able to go to the Academy Awards would be a dream come true. Infinitive phrase. Because I love movies so much, I try to see one at least once a week. So you could start your sentences with different kinds of phrases. Of course, it isn't just how you start the sentences. You can vary the sentence in other ways. You can use adjective clauses like the ones that begin with that, which, or who, compound sentences, and appositives to vary your sentence even more. So this is the end of Chapter 5. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me anytime.